If you want to win an NBA championship in 2023, can you do it with the super team? Bradley Beal has been traded to the Phoenix Suns. I'm gonna miss him. But they formed a super team of Devin Booker, Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. Can they win a chip? And just how successful can you be in the NBA whilst having a super team? My name's LQ and let's talk about it. Yo you, yes you, subscribe. First we have to come up with our definition of a super team. A lot of people have different definitions. For me, I like to think of it as a team with at least 3 all-star caliber players that year. So for me, it's arguable whether a team like the 2022 Los Angeles Lakers is a super team just because Russell Westbrook was an all-star caliber at the time. So as long as the player is an all-star caliber player in the season they all play together, I think you can define that as a super team. So let's go through the last 20 champions in the NBA. Okay, now let's look at them, but look at which ones are super team. The first thing I notice here is that not a single super team has won a championship in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, we'd had the Denver Nuggets weren't a super team. Only had 2 really all-star caliber players in their team. In 2022, you had the Golden State Warriors who had 2 all-star caliber players on their team, Draymond Green and Steph Curry. In 2021, you had the Bucks who only had 2 once again. In 2020, you had the Los Angeles Lakers who once again had 2, despite having players who've had previous all-stars, players like Dwight Howard and Rajon Rondo. They had 2 all-star caliber players that season. And in 2019, you had once again 2 all-star caliber players in Kawhi Leonard and Pascal Siakam. Kyle Lowry probably wasn't all-star caliber that year, but he was a good player. So in the last 5 years, no super team. Even though we had that Lakers team that people defined as a super team. Even though we had that Brooklyn Nets big 3. And even though we had the Phoenix Suns of last year. Super teams are a concept from since the dawn of the dinosaurs. In 1963, the Boston Celtics had 9 Hall of Famers in their lineup. Absolutely nuts. The late 1960s to 17 Lakers had Gail Goodrich, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. Tragically, Elgin Baylor retired in the season, not even after the season, in the season they won an NBA championship. In the 90s, we had Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler team up to win absolutely nothing. Yeah, they won absolutely nothing. In the late 90s, we had the Chicago Bulls, Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Coney Kukoc. But I do want to say, everyone forget, Dennis Rodman was known as surplus to requirements for pretty much every team in the NBA. The Spurs wanted to dump him. And I guess Jackson and Jordan saw potential. But moving fast forward, we had the Boston Celtics of 2008. We had the Heatles. Wait, pause a second. Miami Heatles makes no sense, by the way, as a name. I just want that. There's 4 members of the Beatles. There's 3 Miami Heatles. Where is the sense? But then we arrive in the mid-2010s and the late 2010s on the Golden State Warriors and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Before you tell me
Cleveland weren't a super team.
They had Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. They were a super team, I'm sorry. The only reason that Kyrie Irving wasn't an all-star in 2016 when they won their chip is because he was injured. He was still an all-star caliber player. But if you're looking down at it and you look at all the teams that have won being a super team, you can see why they win. Names don't make super teams win. Money doesn't make super teams win. Fit makes super teams win. Fit does. It's all about the system. You name every super team that's ever won and they have a good fit. That's why the 2 works better than the 3, because with the 2 you have to fit less together. And I'm not just talking about playing fit, I'm talking about fit in general. With the Warriors, you had the greatest plug-in player of all time in Kevin Durant. You had the greatest catch and shoot player of all time in Klay Thompson. You had one of the greatest defenders of all time in Draymond Green. And you had a player in Stephen Curry that could do it all, play on ball, play off ball. And he was the system. With the Celtics big 3/4, you had players that fit together immensely. You had a great defender, you had a great scorer, you had a great catch and shoot player. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, I guess you just had LeBron turned into a Goliath of a man. But you had a great rebounder in Kevin Love. You had a great passer and scorer in LeBron James, and you had a player in Kyrie Irving who could just complement LeBron so well. But it all comes down to fit. The Brooklyn Nets could have won, but their personalities didn't fit. The Los Angeles Lakers could have won, but Russell Westbrook couldn't fit with a ball-dominant player in LeBron James. So the question comes now, do the Suns fit? Like we said, Kevin Durant can fit with anyone. He's the greatest plug-in player of all time. Devin Booker is a great scorer who can do a little bit on the defensive end and can playmake quite a bit. So it all comes down to Bradley Emmanuel Beal. But when you think about it, Bradley Beal is the same type of player as Devin Booker. Scorers, can create their own shot. I mean, Bradley Beal's probably a worse defender, but they're pretty much the same player. And that's where the Suns, I think, have it wrong. They need to change Bradley Beal back to 2017 Beal. Back to the John Wall era, where Bradley Beal played off-ball. Bradley Beal over the last few years has become a player with one of the highest usage rates in the NBA. That can't run in Phoenix, especially with Devin Booker being there. Bradley Beal is going to have to play off-ball. They're in a race against time and they're just going to have to change the way Bradley Beal plays. Can they get Bradley Beal back to 2017? I don't know. But do super teams work? Only if they fit. Super pause.